Some of the fun to be had with your model railroad is to indulge in some realistic operation. We're going to follow a mixed way freight picking up a small cut of hopper cars from a rural grain elevator to be taken to the mill in a city nearby. A passenger train pulls up to make its station stop at Wingfield Crossing, a small community supported by a nearby mine. Here, the train will take on water and passengers while it waits for our freight train to pass by. While we wait, a massive Pennsylvania Railroad Q2-4464 with some serious tonnage at the drawbar rolls by the passenger train. He's almost at the end of his run into the main yards where the train will be disassembled and ultimately cargo will be delivered. Our freight train will wait for this train to continue into the yard before picking up the cut of hopper cars at Larkspur Junction. A 482 mountain type is at the point of our train, which has taken the siding as the big freight train passes by on his way to the yards where the train will be switched, sorted, and the engine will go in for servicing. As soon as the way is clear, our train will pull onto the main line and proceed to Larkspur Junction to pick up the cut of hopper cars waiting at the elevator. The dispatcher's given the green light to our train as we take the main line and make our way to Larkspur Junction. Four grain-filled hoppers are waiting for our freight train to come and pick them up to be taken to the mill in the city of Demeter. And in pretty short order, we have arrived. The train is split and we pull forward to clear the switch so we can back in to pick up the cut of hopper cars. Larkspur is largely an agricultural area, and farmers from all over drop off their grain here to be weighed, stored, and eventually picked up and processed. The railroad is an essential part of this community's economy. Once we've got them, we will tie back onto the rest of the train and be on our way. Once we have coupled up with the rest of the train, the compressors fill the air lines, and after a quick test, we are once again on our way. The freight rolls through the Badlands. The train does its job carrying all manner of food, raw materials, and manufactured goods through this forbidding country. Ancient sandstone deposits sit resolutely as erosion reveals secrets of the past. Here we have a group of researchers unearthing a prehistoric giant entombed for 100 million years. These remains are pretty much intact, making this a very significant find. These paleontologists must be thrilled. In not too long, we roll by the station at Wingfield Crossing. The passenger train is still filling the tender up with water while it waits for the freight train to pass. Rolling past the lumberyard, we start to see the character of the land change a bit. It becomes more rocky, and high mountains form a barrier, making it necessary to make deep cuts and bore tunnels into the mountainside. As soon as our freight train clears the block, the passenger train topped up with water, and all passengers are comfortably aboard, the conductor gives the order to depart. The passenger train is on its way westward with people on business trips, sightseers, and vacationers heading for a fun adventure. Our freight train is up to speed as it carries on through unbroken wilderness. Beavers have taken up residence under the bridge here, building their customary dam. Sometimes this causes difficulty for the railway, as beaver dams can sometimes flood out the railway grade. But here, the railway takes the high ground, so the beavers are not a problem. Approaching the city of Demeter, we meet another passenger train highballing out of the depot. The railway is a thriving business here, and many trains carrying passengers, mail, and express cargo saturate this line. Demeter is the final destination for the freight train. Most of the train will be staged for switching, but the mill is close by, and the hoppers will be delivered directly before the rest of the train is moved into the yard for switching. The train slows as it approaches the lead into Demeter Yard. Crews have their noses to the barn now and are eager to get home. As we pass through the yard, we get a glimpse of the future. Newly purchased diesels are sitting on the engine tracks waiting for their chance to go out and prove themselves on the road. Diesels will prove to be more efficient than steam, and the railroads will make the transition to diesel very quickly. Many of the engines, like the one hauling our train, will be lined up in scrapyards awaiting their fate. Leaving most of the train behind, our engine takes the hopper cars directly to the mill before backing the rest of the train into the yard. The switchman lines the rails, and the cars are carefully parked at the mill where their cargo will be unloaded. At a later date, the hoppers will be parked in the yard to be spliced into another train and brought back for another load. The mill unloads the hoppers, and grain is brought in to be ground, bagged, and loaded onto another train to be brought to markets elsewhere. The train is reunited and then backed into the yard. The engine will be uncoupled and brought to the roundhouse for servicing while the rest of the train waits on the staging track. It won't be long before switching crews go to work separating the cars and delivering cargo to respective warehouses, factories, refineries, and distributing facilities. A model railroad can be no more than a circle of track on a tabletop, but with a little imagination, creative scene building, it can be much more interesting and a lot more fun.